So a little bit of a background. I'm here to talk today about Pan Am 2015 games, which happened this year. I'm officially not allowed to talk about the Pan Am games, as they have a whole protocol and they have a committee that goes out and does all the speaking engagements. So I'm going to talk to you today as a St. Catharines person who's been involved in rowing and give you a little bit of insight on what's going to take place and with the Pan Am games. So a little bit of, let's see if this works. A little bit of background. I'm just a volunteer, and we have a lot of volunteers that are involved with the sport of rowing. I was very fortunate to get involved at an early age, and I've never left the rowing facilities. And so we have many volunteers, and I'd like to acknowledge Debbie McGregor is one of the main volunteers who spent a lot of time, especially with the secondary school rowing regattas down there. And so like everyone else, just a volunteer. I can drive the boats, I can actually sweep the floors down there. On occasion, if they run short of medal presenter, I get to do that job as well. And this here is the official signing of the St. Catharines hosting the rowing venue for the TO 2015 Pan Am Games. And for the games this year, I'm going to be the SOC Sports Chair. I'm co-chairing that with Tim Rigby. And so this was the inaugural signing of the facility agreement in which we could host the games.
What's SOC?
Sport Organizing Committee. So a little background on some of the events that I've done leading up to this. Just I started rowing in 1971. And with the St. Catharines Rowing Club, I rowed for the University of Guelph, very fortunate enough to be part of their teams. And then back when I finished my rowing career, I decided it was time to get involved with organizing of events. And so as everyone has an opportunity to get involved in different things, I found that organized events was something that I enjoyed doing. Coaching didn't fit with my work schedule, and events were the things that I wanted to do. So I've been very, very fortunate that I've been involved in a number of events. I started in 1993 with the World University Games, and so for about 6 years I spent a lot of time going back and forth to Buffalo as the rowing person. They didn't have anyone else in Buffalo that was responsible for the games up until 3 months before, so I spent quite a bit of time in preparing for them. 1999, the World Championship came along, and I was the rowing person that was responsible for overseeing all the course renovations. So from the course dredging to the building of the berms to the flow deflectors that were built above the starting gates and everything else that had to do with the capital investments, I was the lead rowing person. When the game started, I ended up being the regatta chairman, and so with that came a lot of responsibilities, a lot of committees, and a lot of good times and good memories. 2010, the World Masters Games were held in St. Catharines. Again, I was on the board of directors with the Pan Am Games. And I'd like to mention that over the years, all three of these events have been financially viable for the Rowing Corporation on Henley Island, and which I'm pretty proud to be able to stand here and speak of that. Most of the games lose deficits. I know the World Championships that were held the year after lost $2 million, and so for us to be able to show a profit from the games, I'm pretty excited about. In January, I was just appointed to FISA. FISA is the International Rowing Federation. I'm on their events commission, and as such, I'll get to travel around the world, mostly North America, South America, but I will also get to go to World Championships, and hopefully I'll be able to be in Rio for the Olympics. And on this committee, I'm on the Events Commission, which goes in and helps developing countries build rowing courses. It helps organize the World Championships, the Olympics, to make sure the games run on time, run on schedule, and keep things going. When I'm not involved in rowing, I can be found on a bike either on the trails or on the roads anywhere around St. Catharines. So just a little bit about rowing at the Pan Ams. There will be singles, doubles, and quads. There will be sweeps, pairs, fours, and eights. And so we'll see a quad at the top here, and we see a pair in the bottom. And singles, you row with 2 oars in a boat, 1 person. A double is 2 people with 2 oars, and a quad is 4 people with 4 oars. And then the sweeping events, a pair would be 1 oar per person with 2 people in the boat, a 4. And in this case, for the games, we have a straight 4, so there'd be 4 people with 1 oar, and the eights, there's 8 people with a coxie. And so for the games, we will have a men's 8, but we will not have the women's 8. We limit the number of entries that are possible for the games to keep the numbers down. And so very disappointing that the women's 8 will not be competing here. It's been one of our best events for Canada and getting medals. And so here's just some pictures of what I was just talking about, the sculling boats, the doubles. That gives you an indication here on a single, how many pounds it is, how long it is. And those are the oars that are used in the boats. As mentioned, the Royal Canadian Rowing Centre is called here, we call it the Rowing Course. It has been home for the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta since 1903. The CSRA Championships, 1970 Worlds, 1993 University Games, 99 World Championships, and 2010 World Masters. As well as it hosts a number of community and high school rowing events. I think on a yearly basis, the facility in St. Catharines has about 14 different regattas that it does hold. So out of the facility in St. Catharines, which is the largest rowing community in Canada, there's approximately 1,000 daily users of the rowing facility. The St. Catharines Rowing Club, Ridley Graduate Boat Club, Brock University, plus all the high schools row out of the island. For the Pan Am Games, which were a little bit different, the City of St. Catharines is a major partner in helping and promote and host the Pan Am Games. And as such, they've dedicated staff that are working on organizing some of the events. The region of Niagara, I've been meeting with them on several occasions, have been working on promotion for other sports to bring to the area prior to the games, and as well as to trying to help out St. Catharines and Welland as we prepare. A group that's maybe not as well known as it should be or will be, the Niagara Sport Commission has been working on numerous events in and around the region for the last number of years, and they as well have been brought in to be part of these games. And I think that with all these groups, we have the nucleus of a great team here in Niagara to make sure that we have the best event possible. During the course of the games, there will be disruption for the local clubs, and it's very, very unfortunate that the Learn to Row program and the Rec Rowing program have come under some scrutiny here of how we're going to host those programs during the Pan Ams. And the Pan Ams take place during the busiest time of the rowing schedule here in St. Catharines. And so there will be disruption. There will be some people upset about that. As well, the St. Catharines Rowing Club, Ridley, and Brock will have to leave the facilities for 6 days during the games. And so they'll be transferring all their shells and all their athletes to either Welland or into Jordan, at the harbor in Jordan. And so with the games, it's one of the things that I've been fighting extremely hard for. We have a mixed-use training period that will take place so that the local competitive athletes will be using the facilities right up until the day before the racing starts, and so we'll be sharing with the international countries that are coming in. So a great accomplishment to try and work with all the security people that are involved with the games. So you think we got 205 athletes coming. For schoolboy, we do about 2,500. For Henley, we do over 3,000, 3,400 athletes. It's a small event, and yes, it is a small event, but we're having the cream of the crop. This will be the first time that the Canadian A team will be competing in front of the home crowd. We have very, very limited events where we can actually see our Canadian athletes compete. And so this will be the first time, and Pretty excited to see some of the people that will be representing Canada here at the Games. The athletes, when they do come, will be staying at Brock. Brock will be a satellite accommodation for all the athletes. And I know that they're still working with Brock on making final details on busing schedules back and forth to the venues. They're looking at the meal plans for the athletes. Dealing with a lot of South American countries, the eating patterns that they have are a little bit different than what the North American people would have. So that the work is ongoing. At the present time, it's my understanding that Brock will not be fenced. A lot of what's taking place with the games will be fenced. And at this point, Brock hasn't agreed to fencing for the athletes' satellite village. There'll be 18 NOCs, National Organizing Committee officials, that will be coming in from around the world. And so once again, being the host for this, 3 of those 18 will be coming from Canada. And I saw the selection list of names that were submitted by the Canadians on the weekend, and I'm quite happy and pleased to see the people that have put their name forward to represent Canada here. In 2015, there was a pre-qualifying regatta in Mexico, in which the other countries, Canada, U.S., automatically get buys into the games, but the other countries all have to qualify. And when you limit the number of competitors to 205, there's only certain events and so many that can come. And I'm happy to say at this point, it looks like we're going to have a full slate, and we'll have the 205. So some upcoming dates that I just thought I'd share with you. The torch relay, and so with any games of this magnitude, and the people in Toronto are trying to model this much after an Olympic format. They will be running the torch relay, and it will be coming through St. Catharines. The torch is expected to arrive at June 20th. I think it's at 3:45. There will be a ceremony in which the torch will row down the Henley Course from the island to the finish, and there will be a party reception that will be set up by, I believe it's the Kiwanis Club of St. Catharines in Lakeside Park as part of what's going on with that. So last week as well, I went through a bunch of resumes of people that had submitted their names for a couple of the positions that were available to carry the torch, and those announcements will be coming out shortly. The events, there's 14 events, 8 for men, 6 for women, and so as the sport of rowing works towards equal representation for both men and women, the Pan Am group hasn't quite got it yet, and so there is still a discrepancy on this. But in saying that, on other aspects of round rowing, especially in the South America countries that row, women dominate the lead roles for the countries down there with 90% representation. So where everyone's worried about equalizing the genders here, the South American countries have been working hard to make sure that women are a key part of the rowing community. The heats will take place July 11th to 12th, the finals the 13th to the 15th. All races will be 2,000 meters, which is the standard racing. There's 2 different categories for the rowing. There's the heavyweight, which is the open categories, as well as there's lightweights for men and women. There's a coxswain who steers the boat, which would only be for the 8s. The athletes weigh in 1 hour before the race, no more than 2 hours. They can do that. And there's technical officials, and then you see the officials in the bottom of the boat here that make sure that the safety, fairness, and make sure that everything comes down the way it's supposed to, and the racing is as fair as possible. Leading up to the games, there was a couple of events that took place, and so there was a capital budget that was put out for the games. The capital budget, which is being funded by the federal government, of which the City of St. Catharines and TO 2015 are a 60-40 partner on. There were several projects that were identified as capital needs that were required to have the games. And the one that was identified was as the major one after 2.5 years of meetings, we finally came up with the replacement of the bridge that connects the mainland to Henley Island. Was one of the main projects that we were able to accomplish. Dismantling of the bridge started the 1st of November, completion of the bridge, and this is some of the early stages. The final coat of asphalt went down on the 22nd of December on schedule, and we're very, very pleased with the result and of the new bridge. It took a year longer to get than we were hoping for, but the end result is that we have a much stronger, better, will last a lot longer than some of the early designs, and it was well worth the extra year wait to make sure that we had the proper bridge put in place. And it was a lot of cooperation with the City of St. Catharines and taking the lead on this project and working with TO 2015 and Tim and myself to make sure that this one got accomplished. The other one was, we were fortunate enough to have a test event here last year. We used Henley as a test event, and part of the test event funds, we were able to purchase 6 new safety Zodiacs with motors. And so the last time we purchased them was for 1999. And if anyone knows anything about Zodiacs and boats, putting them in and out of the water, on the cement, on the stones, in and out, they were starting to deteriorate pretty badly, and every time we went to use them, we were getting holes in them. So to be able to replace the fleet of boats was very, very exciting. We're also in the process right now of trying to source 2 additional boats for video production. The other major investment that we were able to get for the games, and so I had some pictures of an Albano system that weren't very good from St. Catharines, so I just went to the actual site and downloaded one. And so the Albano system is the buoy marking system, and so you can see the different colors here on the course. There's the yellow ones and the red ones. And so you think, okay, so we had to replace an Albano system. So what do you think that would cost? Little buoys that you put in the water, they float on a cable system. $65,000 to replace that system for the course. And so when we talk about legacy items, that's another one that was one that we were surprised and pleasantly surprised at was we have very poor communications in and around Port Dalhousie, and so it's always been a zone where communications has been a difficulty for us. And we had been using Wi-Fi for a number of the regattas. Through the help of TO 2015, we were able to install a fiber optic cable system. So this cable system goes from the finish tower to the grandstand, from the grandstand to the 1,500 meter pylon, to the 1,000 meter pylon, to the 500 meter pylon, from the start to the island. And as a result of that, we're going to be able to provide split times. And split times are really good for coaches so that when they know when you're coming down at the 500 what your time is, when you're at the 1,000, what your splits are, how much you've dropped off, or whether your crew has changed. And so with the fiber optics in, we're going to be able to set up cameras on each one of those pylons, and it's going to automatically record the times and feed into the timing system. Very excited about that. It's also allowed us to do some film coverage around the venue, and so for the games, there'll be 2 large video screens, both of them are in the grandstand, one for the spectators, one for the athletes. So when the athletes cross the line, they'll know what place they came in on the screen. And for the spectators, they'll be able to view what's going on the course. Unfortunately, we weren't able to be one of the selected ones that was able to have host broadcast coverage of the event. So as a result of that, we will be doing, CBC will be doing taped highlight packages, and they'll be showing them on a nightly wrap-up of the events that they're not covering live. Just some pictures here of the course. And so this would show the finish line area, which takes place at the bottom of Port Dalhousie, and shows the grandstand on the right-hand side. And just a quick picture of that. Let's see. There's Henley Island, and so the reason I threw this one up is Henley Island is going to be a restricted zone during the games. And so the only access will be people with accreditation. And I talk about security for the games. This is going to be Olympic level security. With the events that are taking place around the world, the final details won't be decided until just before the games, but access to the Henley Island will be restricted to the athletes and the accredited volunteers. So if you thought you were a spectator, wanted to spend some time on the island, you wanted to take your dog down and walk like most people do, during the games you will be restricted and won't be allowed to be on the island. And so the other difference here is the volunteers aren't allowed to mix with the athletes. And so unless you're specifically working in one of the areas, you're not allowed to even walk through the compound. And so for a lot of our events, we don't have any security, we don't have any real risks, but even if you're getting on a bus to go from the island to the grandstand as a volunteer, you have to walk through a fenced area. And everyone that goes into the athletes compound will be screened, checked, and metal detectors. And it's sad to say, but the events around the world have caused us to step up the security and to work with all the things that go with that. And so the other one is just to give everyone just a little bit of an idea where Port Dalhousie is and where the rowing course is and how this all plays in. And so this is the mascot of the games. This is Patchy, and so Patchy would like to welcome everyone to Henley Grandstand for the games. And again, they start the 10th of July and go to the 15th.